on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a special place to live, work, and play. I hope you're having a great Wednesday. We're all kind of keeping our eyes down to the tropics. It doesn't appear that anything major is going to develop there, but it does look like we're going to have a pretty wet weekend. So just stay, not that you can avoid the conversation these days, but keep your eyes kind of peeled to the south and what our weather guys are telling us, and act appropriately as we once again get into another maybe potentially active hurricane season. Let's hope not. Hey, listen, we're going to have FoFo Gilich here shortly. We have a great lineup of things to talk about with him. But before we do that, I just want you to know that I'm a Mozart fan, and tomorrow I'm going to be sharing what I learned along the way about how to get into your creativity zone. And Mozart for me has always sort of been part of that. So tune in tomorrow to learn more about that creativity zone. But just a word about Mozart before we go any further. You may have heard of this thing called the Mozart effect. It really says that when you listen, scientifically proven I might add, that when you listen to Mozart, you think better. There was actually a study that was done, and it concluded that playing Mozart during mathematics outcome assessments exams improves student scores. So what they did is they went to students in trigonometry classes, and they determined that it did statistically significantly better. They did better on mathematics outcome assessments when they listened to Mozart. So you might want to listen to some Mozart if you have something creative you want to do. You'll learn more about that creativity zone that I talk about tomorrow. So without any further ado, let's move over to my friend FoFo Gilich, recently reelected as the mayor of the City of Biloxi. How you doing, FoFo?
I'm great, Rick. Like I said, it's just so great to be here with you, and so comfortable with, everything we try to cover together, because it's important to both of us. And I think we both appreciate, what we have here. I listened to Clay in the last segment. It is a very special place, and it's worth all the effort it takes to keep it moving. So I'm happy to be here, and happy to be mayor for another 4 years.
Well, congratulations on your reelection. Hey, we'll get into that in just a second, but you heard what I said about Mozart. You're a mathematics major. Yeah. You love music, actually. You're a music aficionado. Did you ever listen to Mozart when you were doing your mathematics?
No, I know. I listened to a lot of rhythm and blues, though, I can tell you. But of course, we played a lot of rhythm and blues. But I'm just thinking back on mathematically, and I've just learned some things. If I had music instruction, I'd have saved my time. As far as how I hit the different chords, and I just found out recently I've been playing all my chords inverted, and doing a lot more. A lot more, movement than I had to back when your uncle, we were playing, music together. So, but I wish you learned that over the course of your life. But so I'm tickled, and it does make sense mathematically to figure out what you're doing, and you can, and I sense, what's coming next just by. We used to play our little rock and roll by 1, 3, 5, and just whatever key we're in. So, but that's, I just wish I'd have had some instructions instead of trying to do all this by ear.
It kind of reminds me of the famed blues artist Robert Johnson, who had this unique way to play the guitar. And maybe you're like Robert Johnson. Maybe you're going to still make your mark in rhythm and blues before it's over with, using your unique approach. Hey, we're going to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about in this first segment about getting reelected the mayor of Biloxi and what does that mean to you. And then in the second segment, we're gonna talk about the upcoming Croatian Lodge anniversary, and we're going to remind people about the significant role Croatia has played in the history of Biloxi, and we'll come back to that in just a second. But now that you've officially won re-election, just high level, how does it make you feel?
Well, it just kind of makes you feel good that people appreciate, the efforts that we made. I mean, over the last 6 years, from thinking back on since 2015 and when we took over the infrastructure and the challenges we had, and it just, we just experienced Zeta, and of course, the pandemic. But it was for me personally and for my family, jumping into that role, into that the mayor. It's very cool to be mayor, but it's nonstop. And I've explained it to folks as far as, when my first job was at catching cans at Seacoast Packing Company, my grandfather's factory. I was making I actually got a check, $1.35 an hour. Well, that's about what I'm making right now, $1.35 an hour. It's just nonstop, and you can do as much as you want. But
well, you're a dedicated mayor. We both know that. You both know you didn't do this for the money. You did this because you have a passion for Biloxi, and we'll get into some of that history here in a second, and people can have a deeper appreciation for that. Hey, let me play you a quick segment from Monday. I had Ashley Edwards, CEO of the Gulf Coast Business Council, on. We were talking about elections across the coast. A lot of new mayors across the coast. As it relates to you, I want you to hear what we said about you. So, okay. Kyle, you can key that up. We actually have new mayors in all the cities of Jackson County, and we'll come back to that in a second. Let's move over to FoFo Gilich. No surprise there.
No, not at all. FoFo came out of the gates running whenever he became the mayor of Biloxi. He's got more energy than just about anybody I've ever seen. I see FoFo out and about everywhere, and he's got a lot of things going. I think things are looking up really for all the cities on the coast, but Biloxi and Gulfport are leading the way. Love a lot of the new downtown developments that are getting ready to happen in Biloxi. And, I think we will continue to see FoFo Gilich work very hard on trying to bring new investment to the city. That's been a big focus of his. And when you look at, building permits and construction starts, Biloxi has really been doing well.
Well, he's obviously he's a friend, and he's someone I admire greatly. He's so smart. I mean, he's got a mathematics degree. He was in the software business for his entire career, did extraordinarily well. And literally, when he solves a problem in the city, he's writing code in his head. He's just an incredibly brilliant man who is so passionate about the city. It's just incredible. Okay, so that's what people say about you when you're not around, and we said it publicly, but you do solve problems by writing code in your head, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just, face it, understand it, and then you can make a solution. And I mean, and like I said, you got to face the truth. Don't, read anything that you don't really see or it came back up. And those are very kind and very nice words, and very appreciated of those, you two talking about me. So
yeah, it's it has as Stan Tyner, the editor of the Sun Herald, used to say, it has the incredible benefit of being true. So that's what's so good about it. But you know what? Let's be honest about this. You did not have to be mayor of Biloxi. You could have just enjoyed retirement or whatever you were going to do with your life. You have a long love of this community. As I mentioned, at one of the Slovenian and now Croatian golf tournaments, where y'all have all these people coming in from all over the country, I said during our first session together when we talked about your life and all of this, I've never seen a person work a room like you. You literally knew everybody in the room. You knew them by their names, and you knew their families, and you are incredibly well connected in this community. So it is truly a labor of love for you, a passion for you to make Biloxi the best it can be, isn't it?
It is, and our just predecessors, our grandparents and parents' generation, they did it for us, and I'm doing it for whoever follows us, and not for me. But it's been a great joy, to interact and be the mayor, and as well as I'll tell you one thing too. When we could talk a little bit about the lodge and its 108-year history and so forth, I was just as proud to become president of the Savonia Lodge as almost a mayor. But because my grandfather was was there, and he was the president, so I had to be the president, and here we are. The rest is kind of history, but I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, I understand that, and we're going to actually get into some detail about that, because embedded in there is so much incredible history in the Croatian culture and how it's impacted Biloxi over so many years. I want to definitely talk about that. But one of the things that has been interesting in my conversations with you, both on the air and off the air, you are so focused on making sure, number one, that Biloxi gets its due because its contributions are significant, not just to coastal Mississippi, but to the rest of the state. And you're focused on that. And second, you don't leave a stone unturned when you see opportunity. You're putting your energy where your mouth is when it comes to making sure that you fully flesh out every opportunity you hear about, so you can make sure that nothing's getting lost in the noise of life. Is that true?
Absolutely, and that's not just being mayor. That's just anything. Your opportunity, and it's just like water. You can't hold it in your hands very long. So you gotta do what you got to do when you got to do it. And you fool yourself if you say, well, I can wait for this to happen. But it just doesn't happen. You got to move, and sometimes you make mistakes. But if you move fast enough, you'll make more right decisions than wrong decisions. You snooze, you lose kind of deal. It's a little bourrée deal.
You're not going to lose because you're not going to snooze. There's no doubt about that. Hey, we're having a conversation with Mayor FoFo Gilich, recently reelected as the mayor of Biloxi. Seems to me he'll be mayor for about as long as he wants to be mayor going forward. At least that's my read on it. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about the Croatian community in Biloxi and why it is so significant, a really important upcoming anniversary for the Lodge, and why that's important as well. So we'll continue the conversation when we come out on the other side.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's J. Allen at J. Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the J. Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the J. Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a conversation with Mayor FoFo Gilich, and we're going to shift gears now. We talked about in the first segment about his getting reelected, his passion for Biloxi. And today, actually, we're going to talk a lot about tradition, the traditions of Biloxi. There's so many important traditions. I mean, really, honestly, Biloxi is a melting pot. It's a melting pot of so many incredible cultures: Vietnamese, French, African-American, Croatian, you name it, Italian. It's really, there's a place for all of these incredible cultures in the city of Biloxi. It's a very accepting place because of that. FoFo Gilich is the current president of the Croatian Lodge. Is it Slavonian Lodge or Croatian Lodge?
It's Croatian American Cultural Center, but it's AKA Slavonian Lodge. Slavic Benevolent Association is the association, the official charter. And that charter was in 1943, but it actually started in 1913. Yeah. So we were official, and the whole did things with the state of Mississippi. That's a tremendous story. We talked about Cape Bergeron and some of the things. Yeah. It's just interesting. Of course, we've got Jane Chambra, who is right there on top of everything too. With anything that was in the Daily Herald, she got a finger on it. So the Slavic Benevolent Association. I'm not, I think, president. Just maybe in spirit or when I try to insert myself. But they tell me that you're not the mayor when you're in this building. So Jay Balmuth is just the is the recently elected president of Slavic Benevolent Association. And,
So you and they mean it.
That's right.
They mean it. Well, look, here's the interesting thing. I came to Coast of Mississippi when I was 4, and I think throughout my career, I always heard something about, the Croatians, and I never really understood it until I married into the Bohanovich clan. And as you and I know, the family really well. My wife's grandfather came through the port of New Orleans in 1901. Actually, if you think about the beginning of Biloxi, that was actually a key point in the history of Biloxi when he came through. He was very young at the time, and her grandmother, I think like 1906, 1908, she was a Kovacevic, and she came through. And it's interesting. I read something about her uncle. I wanted to share. They came from Hvar, of course, in Croatia. But it said of her brother, Mateo Kovacevic, that he made a living as a fisherman. He worshipped at St. Michael's Catholic Church and socialized with members of the Slavonian Benevolent Association. And he went on to he died in 1959, and it just talked about a little bit more about his life. But if I read that about Mateo Kovacevic today, that description actually fits so many people in 2021, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It just that period between about 1895 and actually 1920, when I think they call it Sedition Act, shut immigration down. But I mean, Biloxi, the strength of the seafood and the working community, Industrial Revolution had steam powering machines that were helping do the shrimp and oysters and so forth. And then, like 1901, actually my grandfather's sea cool came in 1903, but it was to work. They had tried to gotten some Czechoslovakian folks, Bohemians as they call them, come in from Chesapeake Bay to help it. But we talked a little bit about my great uncle Nicolae Skrmeta, who was my great grandmother's Seacool's wife. Anyway, he said, hey, I guess the owners of Lazaro Lopez and the owners of Duque Dunbar Lopez Cannery, so you work like 10 men. Do you have any relatives? And thus became, the migration. Like my grandfather's Seacool, he had 13 brothers and sisters, and 9 of them wound up he brought 9 of them here as a result of that opportunity. And, of course, it wasn't all roses everywhere in the world at the time, but, it's an amazing story. A story that I'm so proud of, just to even talk about. Just on my little part, but, as you mentioned, Mateo and the Kovaceviches, the Bohanoviches, and, One of my grandfather's sisters married a Bohanovich, so that's why we're related to everybody. So, I mean, it's a tremendous story. It is still ongoing. I mean,
It really is.
You can't date them because that's one of your cousins, So that's what I've experienced.
Well, you mentioned Kat Bergeron, the wonderful writer for the Sun Herald for so many years. She lives in the Virginia Piedmont today. I connected with her recently, actually. She wrote so much about the history of coastal Mississippi. Let me share, because you mentioned some important names, and you're related to these names. Let me share with you real quick something she wrote about those early days that was, I think, conjure up a lot of memories for you and your family. But here we go. The Croatians of the Mississippi coast love to tell the story of Nikolai Skrmeta, who immigrated from the Dalmatian coast in 1890. Biloxi was growing strong seafood legs and needed workers to harvest and can oysters and shrimp. With the legendary strength of two men that you mentioned, Mayor, he went to work in the labor-intensive industry. This one man is credited with starting an early 20th century immigrant tidal wave of other Slavonians coming to work on the Gulf Coast. The story goes that Nick Skrmeta, as his Americanized name, jumped ship in New Orleans and soon found himself in Biloxi. As he stood at a trolley stop, he struck up a conversation with Laz Lopez, owner of a factory and fleet of schooners. The story further explains he could not speak English and Lopez could not speak Croatian, so they communicated in mixed European language that included Italian. That day, Lopez offered Skrmeta a job. Lopez was so impressed with his energy and hard work that he asked, "Are there any more like you?" There were hundreds of them. Their offspring number in the thousands now. Skrmeta convinced family and friends that America was a land of opportunity. At the time, the homeland was under the thumb of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Life was really tough for non-royals, and many young men were being conscripted into the army, known for its cruel treatment of soldiers. It goes on to say this, and you mentioned this. In 1903, in response to Skrmeta's convincing, the first contingent of Austrians, as they were then called, arrived by way of Ellis Island. The group of 5 from the village of, what is the name of that village, Bob?
Bobovica.
I couldn't pronounce it. There you go.
On the island of Roch, some people call it Bobovica. Bobovica is how they say it anyway.
Yes, included Steve M. Seacole and Peter M. Skrmeta. They were as hard-working as the first Skrmeta, and factory and schooner owners wanted even more like them. Australians obliged. The first group sent for wives and children and more men to work, and it went on from there. This is the one other thing I want to share that she wrote, just further down, but essentially says this. Eventually, whole extended families settled in Biloxi, forming a close-knit community on the peninsula known as Point Cadet. When Skrmeta died in 1918, the Herald reported he would be greatly missed by Biloxians, especially those of his people who relied on him for advice and affairs. Women and older children worked in canneries, as did some of the men, although many worked on boats and docks. At first, they lived Biloxi's version of Canary Row in small camp houses, but they saved and eventually built their own fishermen cottages. Some bought their own schooners, and the story goes on from there. That was one of the tragedies, actually, of Hurricane Katrina, is it sort of wiped away that part of the community that was so tight-knit and really an evolution of that part of history, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was. It's sad because, we gather up a number of us for lunch and go down, especially we meet at the Savonia Lodge and figure out where we're going to eat lunch. And, then we go drive up and down the streets, or in the course of getting to a restaurant. Oh, yeah, this is where somebody used to live. This is where their grocery store was. This is what, where the factory was. This is where the net shop was. I mean, and just, it's just a tremendous joy to remember. Or just even where the theaters were and, the different aspects of life back then. But it just got wiped out. Katrina just, boom, even 47 and Camille. Didn't do the harm that we saw in Katrina. I mean, it's unbelievable, in talking about the stories, where the water was going to think Randy Barris, was telling me, his water actually came from the bay before it came from the beach. So it was something unseen, unheard of, unbelievable. But you can believe it because it happened,
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that was wiped away by the storm was the Slavonian Lodge.
The Myrtle Street Lodge, that's right.
What was interesting is that this area of the lodge that still remained. Obviously, it was in kind of a crumbled mess, but was this look back at the famous contributors to the lodge over the many years. There's these, this in memoriam wall, right, so to speak. But the spirit of their contributions over all of these years led to the rebuilding of the lodge in ways that I don't think anyone could have imagined in the days following Hurricane Katrina. That in and of itself is an amazing story, isn't it?
It is a story, and it's unbelievable. I know I've lost about 20 pounds rebuilding the Myrtle Street Lodge where it is on Maple Street. And every Monday we had, conversations about to me, it could have been twice as big as what it is, but it's tremendous. It's something we're all proud of and just happy to, that is moving forward.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the rebuilding of the lodge and the importance of the traditions that the lodge is really focused on us not losing here in this community. It's so important. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Mayor FoFo Gilich.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalkMSGulfCoast.com.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to good things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. Appreciate you joining us here on 103.1 SuperTalk. We're having a terrific conversation with my friend, the mayor of the City of Biloxi, FoFo Gilich. And when we went to break, we were talking about the impact of Hurricane Katrina, really on all of these, the heritage and the traditions, no matter which culture people came from, they were all challenged. The French, the Vietnamese, the African-American communities, the Croatian community, they were all challenged so greatly. Today, we're talking specifically about the Croatian community. Before we get into the rebuilding of the lodge, I just wanted to say that the last couple of years, one of the real joys has been the opportunity. My son had gone over to Spain to live there to learn Spanish, and Ann and I went over to visit him, and then we spent some time over touring the entire country of Croatia. Went off of Split to spend some time at the islands off of Split, and went to Dubrovnik, and then we went south from there, and just kind of took it all in. First of all, what I would say is when these people in the late 1890s and early 1900s came to Biloxi, they left one of the most beautiful places on earth. But the times were so difficult for them. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, like you said, that time, and you had, I think, a depression in the world, about 1887, as I recall, and it just economic. It was dismal in Europe, and of course, with the monarchies, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and some of the, situation, I guess, politically, as well as just the royal families and the monarchies, and so you didn't have a lot of choice. If the king said you're going to be in the army, you're going to be in the army, and then of course, World War I. Ramped up, but it was before that all this nationality and all these things were happening. And if you have just one little stumble, whether it's the olive oil crop fails or those islands are rocks, and there's only so many things that can be done. Even water. I'll tell you a story, my little adventure about saving a goat in one of the cisterns on the island of Broch. But I mean, it was rough. I mean, you just look, you've seen some of the, the rocks, and not a lot of, places to grow corn or agriculture. And but those times, so you can imagine just walking around and just imagine the situation was in 1895 or even 1900. And of course, you're ramping up to 1913 when the World War I came along. And but yeah, it was not roses. It's beautiful now. And tourism is their main deal, and we're ready to go back. I just had a tremendous time when we went over for our 50th anniversary, and all 12 of us, and did everything in the world. We were fortunate too at the time. I think Croatia was in the World Cup, and they battled their way all the way up to the finals, and that was tremendous. Soccer experience, like Super Bowl. Every time they played, we happened to be in country. From Split to the VAR to Dubrovnik, and it was very cool.
Well, so that's actually
1-0.
Yeah, that's actually when Ann and Justin and I were there. We were due to leave a day before, but when Croatia got into the finals, we went through all of the process to change our departure dates and get a hotel room in Dubrovnik, and we met a shop owner. We actually pub owner in old town Dubrovnik, and we watched the game with him. And we were looking down on the square as they celebrated this. In the early '90s, they were getting bombed by Milosevic and all the things that they've had to deal with. And for this very small country to be in the World Cup, it didn't matter if they won or not. To be a part of that and to feel that, and man, it was literally an out-of-body experience to sense that. It
was. In boxing, you say, you're punching above your weight class, and they were. A little bit of 9 million people up against a lot of folks. Big South American, England, big heavy-duty stuff. So, but yeah, I happened to be in France, the finals that day. I mean, not France. I happened to be in Cuba. And didn't know, who was winning, and I had my Croatian, red and white jersey, and we were coming home, and I didn't know I think they were losing by a goal or something like that, but it was exciting. Of course, they had a big, a party at the lodge, and they had a ton of folks at the lodge watching it. So I was stuck doing business in Cuba, or trying to do business in it, but it was great. It's still great.
Us all proudly wearing our red and white jerseys, and what a time it was. Hey, before we leave the country too quickly on Croatia, one of the things that was interesting about it is you mentioned the olive growth and grapes, the wine that they made. I asked one of the guys, we're at a winery there, and I said, why don't I know about Croatian wine? He said, well, we don't export any, we drink it all. So such fine wine. And something about the bread there with the olive oil that they make there is incredible. Something about the fish. Some of the most wonderfully cooked fish you could ever eat. I could go on and on about the food, but the food is really special there, isn't it?
You talk about taste. Now I know why my grandparents and they always cooked, and it was always great to, it wasn't any experience. You just did it like I'm sure her grandmother did it, like my grandmother did it. Whether it's shrimp spaghetti or dope spaghetti or chicken spaghetti or fish, baked fish. But we had an experience with sort of like a sea bass with a local fish, but it was baked totally in salt. And to hold them, it had a cocoon of salt. They baked it, cracked it open, and you never tasted fish better than that. And that was in, I think that was in Split also. So, but anyway, we're ready to go back more. I'm still thinking about it right now. But
me too. Hey, listen, Kat wrote this: tradition. Croatian traditions remain strong, although like many Americanized cultures, they are fading. The native language songs, often accompanied by an accordion, are now more of a rarity than commonplace in the Slavonian Lodge. The South Slavic language, too, is rarely heard on the coast. But one of the reasons why it was important to rebuild the lodge after Hurricane Katrina was that you guys were so focused on making sure that not just traditions, but this respect for this history and this culture and this heritage wasn't lost. I mean, it's like hugely important that each generation gain an appreciation for the generation that came before Ed. That drove the incredible rebirth of that lodge in very significant ways, didn't it?
I think so. I can remember like it was yet. I mean, I remember Katrina and some of the things we lost at the Myrtle Street Lodge. And the memorabilia, the schooner pictures, everything, and we just didn't think. I didn't think, because I was president, from 2003 to 2015, and I just couldn't. Camille didn't do anything to it. They had a little bit of water. But never imagine this. And you mentioned a little bit about the deceased members' plaques, which kind of shows you the history. We were able to recover, put those pieces back together, and that's in part of the lodge that's on Myrtle Street right now. And you can just see history by looking at the names and the dates. But you can't leave that stuff on. You just can't walk away from it. We started meeting at the cafeteria at Fatima, Our Lady of Fatima's kitchen, and stayed there, and we renovated the Masonic Temple building right there on Main Street in Howard. And we called it the Mini Lodge, and that carried on until 2010 when we actually put that building together. But that building, everything in that building is a story, and from the tiles to the color of the fire sensors, and I mean everything is a story. And like I said, I lost about 30 pounds of weight, meeting on Mondays with the building committee, and how those meetings, especially with those characters, with nicknames like Troubles and Crab and those other ones. So we had a good one, but hey, it's done, and we, every weekend or something now after the pandemic's over, but they're rocking and rolling, and the purpose of that whole lodge, you mentioned a little bit about the migration, and they formed an organization in 1913 to help the living and bury the dead. And we've had, one of our cousins, one of our Bugs Marver, just passed away after a long battle, and we were fortunate enough to get everybody at the lodge, and just had a tremendous send off for Bugs, and he so that's perfectly that's what the lodge was all about, is the people that come together and pull together, and it was too much to say we could have walked away. I mean, but it's not not in my opinion. You can't walk away. You got to get up and move forward. That's what we did.
You definitely did that. Hey, just a real quick note on Bugs Marver. My son and his son were very, very good friends, and we played sports together, so I got to know him and Karen really well. Bugs, I don't think they put a finer man on this earth than Bugs Marver.
He was something. He surely was.
And by the way, they were in Croatia too when we were there. So he had the opportunity to go back to Croatia, and he fought a noble fight over a bunch of years. And it's just interesting. I looked at the tribute to him, and I don't think there was a picture where Bugs wasn't smiling.
That's right. He did. He had that. He had that look and feel, and his dad too. I don't know if you know Mr. Sam, but Bugs was the same way. He was always smiling, no matter what the situation was. And we carried around with each other in so many ways. But that's typical, that old generation. Now, just talking about history, okay, his mother was a Seacool. My mother was a Seacool. So that was, that's that kind of tentacles everywhere. So,
all the dots connect in Biloxi. Don't think they don't. A lot of people made big mistakes thinking the dots don't connect when they really do. Hey, when we come back, we'll continue our wonderful conversation about the Croatian community and the Slavonian Lodge, actually, in Biloxi after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever, with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, 2 streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
During the break, FoFo Gilich and I having this conversation about, you know, all these different cultures. The other side of Ann's family is the Melanson side. And came from Nova Scotia down to South Louisiana, eventually found their way into Biloxi and the impact of the French community. We talked about the Vietnamese community. I'm going to cover all of those aspects before it's over because they're all so important. They're really, it's a lot of fun to be connected with your heritage. And Biloxi has worked really hard over so many years because of dedicated families that represent all of these cultures, staying focused on making sure that we're passing to our generation an appreciation for those who come before them. So anyway, coming back to the Slavonian Lodge, got a big anniversary coming up. It's very significant. Let's talk more about that. Tell me more about the significance of this anniversary.
Well, you know, anything that's over 100 years old, you know, it's pretty strong, whether it's a coin or whatever. But this is more than a coin. This is more of a really something that's very special. And you know, with COVID and some of the challenges we've had in the last 12, 13, 15 months, 108 years, I think, is what we're talking about now. 1913 to 21. That's 108 years. That's, of course, every year after the hundreds is we're celebrating, and so we could. I think on the 100th year anniversary, 2013. We had a significant celebration, and we had some officials from the Croatian embassy and had there. And we had, I think, 555 people we served dinner to. If you saw that, that's a stretch, but we did it in a number of minutes. And we had a band from my past called the Swinging Medallions. I think that was a big deal to come in, and so we had a huge party and a huge celebration of what we were real proud of. But we can't take credit. If you look at this video. 100 years. I think Vincent, I don't know if you had a chance to see, but I'll get you a copy of it just so you can see it and feel free to play it. But it tells the story that we already discussed. Where the challenges were in the world, where were the opportunities in the world. It just happened to be in Biloxi, and the families. And I think the opportunity and the family opportunity is what's still strong right now, and that lodge represents that. I know just personally, my grandkids grew up from 2 and 3 years old, and all the way through the mini lodge to I think my grandson, who is now a freshman at LSU or just finished his freshman year. I don't know if you remember Ronnie Kovich, and Ronnie was the sweetest person you ever want, funniest person you ever want to know. But he's 3, and we just moved into the mini lodge on after Katrina, and so he would take, and he's about 1 or 2 years old then, and Ronnie would take him by the hand, and there were grown men that were afraid of Ronnie Kovich. He was our bartender, but he would take my grandson, and they would walk up and down, go up to the 3rd floor, and I remember his dad came home and says, "Papa, that man can take out his teeth." And he's still to his day. So, just those kinds of stories and that kind of interaction, somebody that's 60, 70 years older than you, and the love, but that just comes from family to family to family, and that's what's still important. But my kids grew up with my grandkids, and my kids are an appreciation now. My favorite son-in-law, he's my only son-in-law, but Keith Wade has just became vice president of the Savonia Lodge, but vice president of Slavic Benevolent Association. So, those efforts are, will be appreciated. And, just like as we get older, you appreciate more things that, that were done for you or with you, or so it's continuing. I'm here to tell you that those efforts are not wasted. And for, my grandkids' generation, they'll appreciate it and they'll pass that on. And then from the lodge, building the lodge, paying for the lodge, what it does now, the golf tournaments, we just awarded, I think, 7 scholarships for education. That generation knew, that the future is in education. The future is in, the business and the professions, and you can go, name by name, and, the doctors, the lawyers, the businessmen. That was all a result of these folks working like hell. And, in every day, 24/7, and that, that they want a better thing for their kids and their grandkids. Just happened. It was fertile ground here in Biloxi, and here we are, and I'm pleased and proud of that.
And now the golf tournament, which has become this huge thing. You and I talked about it. You wrote a program that enabled you to kind of manage it because it's over multiple courses and lots of teams, probably world record number of people engaged in it. It's going to get back on track again and start contributing again to that fund.
Today. As a matter of fact, they opened the website, and we feel like it'll. We try to limit to about 500 teams, but that's a lot of teams, and of course, a lot of partying and a lot of a little bit of golf, but a lot of partying, a lot of just energy, and so we're sure if you have an inkling to play, SlavicInvitational.com is ready and rock and roll, ready to go. So we're anxious, but it's going to be 24th, 5th, and 6th of September, the last full weekend in September this year.
Hey, like you said, we could talk for hours. There's so many amazing stories, and we will find ways to talk about more of these stories going forward. I think people like hearing this incredible history that we all have the opportunity to be in touch with, and it helps us appreciate why we live in coastal Mississippi. So have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook, facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.